All right, so that's time dilation. There's more time passing in my world than is passing in Frankie's world. And Frankie's clock is running slower. At least I think it's running slower. Frankie thinks it's running fine. So as they explained in that video, Frankie's clock, as I see it, is going tick, 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 tick. Frankie looks at his clock, and it's just that light beam's going straight up and down. Tick, 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 tick. So Frankie's clock is running slower relative to me. And that's part of the reason that light is measured the same from all frames of reference, because remember, speed equals distance over time. Look how little this distance is from the front of Frankie's ship to this light beam. So this distance is shorter for Frankie than this distance is for me, and yet the speed is the same for both of us. So if this is shorter for Frankie, this has to be smaller for Frankie too. Less time has to pass, or his speed of light will be lower than my speed of light, and that can't be. Light always travels at the same speed regardless of the frame of reference. So that's time dilation. That's only part of the story, though. You might say, oh, well, that's why speed's the same for both of us, just because the time is shorter for this guy than for this guy. But there's more to it than that. As I already kind of hinted, there's length contraction also. So not only is time longer for Frankie, but length along the axis of his ship, along the direction of his travel, is shorter, as I see it, than it is as Frankie sees it. In other words, look how short Frankie's ship is right now. That's how I see it. Now, if I talked to Frankie and said, Frankie, your ship is shrinking from front to back, are you all right? He'd say, I don't know what you're taking, Dad. My ship isn't shrinking at all. It's fine. It's totally normal length. Furthermore, if Frankie were now to stick a ruler out here and measure the distance from the front of his ship to the end of this light beam, and let's say this ruler were in increments of light seconds. A light second is a unit of distance, like a light year. It's the distance that light travels in 1 second. Frankie would measure this distance from here to here as 9 light seconds. 9 light seconds. 9 light seconds. I would stick my ruler out, if I somehow could, and measure the distance from the front of his ship to the end of this light beam. You know, I mean, I'm on Earth. I got a long ruler here. I'm measuring that distance. I would say, you're wrong about that, Frank. Something's wrong with your ruler. That's not 9 light seconds long. That's 6 2/3 light seconds long. So, you know, something's wrong with your ruler. And Frankie said, nothing's wrong with my ruler, Dad. I calibrated it before I left. I checked it very carefully. My ruler is right. Your ruler's wrong. Well, what in the world's going on there? That's that time, or that length contraction I was talking about. Since length contracts along the direction of travel, when Frankie sticks his ruler out, his ruler, as I see it, is shrunken. It's a little ruler. So when he sticks that little ruler out there and measures this distance, it shows this distance as being greater than my big ruler measures it, right? Because his ruler, with his increments, that's shrunk down. So now his ruler, let's say, is 12 light seconds long, but 12 light seconds are all crammed into the shorter distance. So he measures this as 9 light seconds. I say it's 6 2/3 light seconds. But remember, Frankie thinks, and he's right, 9 seconds have passed. 9 seconds have passed for him. 9 light seconds over 9 seconds means light travels at 1 light second per second. And it does. So Frankie's right. Meanwhile, I measure my distance here that my light has traveled, and I say it's 12 light seconds long. And I think, and I'm right, that 12 seconds have passed. So I've got 12 over 12, 12 light seconds per second. That's the speed of light. So Frankie's light is traveling at the speed of light. My light is traveling at the speed of light. For Frankie, 9 seconds have passed. For me, 12 seconds have passed. Now, how can you calculate just how much difference there is in distance and time for Frankie compared to me? To do that, you calculate something called the Lorentz factor, which is represented by the Greek letter theta. And the Lorentz factor equals 1 over the square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared. V is Frankie's speed. C is the speed of light, which is a constant. So Frankie, remember, is traveling at 2/3 of the speed of light, 0.667 roughly. Put that in here, 0.667 c for v, so 0.667 c parenthesis squared over c squared. Do this calculation and you come up with a Lorentz factor of 1.34 roughly. What you do then is multiply this factor times the amount of time that Frankie says has passed. So 1.34 times 9, you'll get 12 seconds. That's how much time I say has passed. Same way, measure this distance here as I measure it, 6.67 light seconds long, and multiply that by 1.34, and you get the length of the light beam as Frankie sees it, which is 9 light seconds long. So you multiply it by distance to get the distance as Frankie sees it. You multiply it by time to get the time as I see it. That's the Lorentz factor. So that's length contraction, time dilation. And the interesting thing is, if you get this speed of Frankie up close to the speed of light, like 0.9999 c, you could go on that fast. This Lorentz factor gets huge. You can get up to like 10,000. So in that way, if Frankie were to travel in his rocket ship for a year as he sees it, he comes back, he's a year older, I'm going to be 10,000 years older. I'm going to be 10,045 years old. You know, I will probably be in a wheelchair or in a bed. You know, I'm going to be in rough shape. And I don't know if I could take care of Frankie at that point. He would have to take care of me. So a tremendous amount of time can pass for the stationary observer relative to what has passed for the guy traveling at very, very nearly the speed of light. Which brings up the twin paradox. And I'd like all of you to Google the twin paradox and then learn about it, figure it out, and digest it, and explain it to me in a way that I can understand. That it is like intuitive, because it's kind of tough. I don't quite get the twin paradox. I mean, I get the basics of it. I can kind of follow the math, but I don't really understand the twin paradox. So if you can figure that one out, let me know. And put it on a video here on the Frankiecast, or just send me an email. So let's do a Frankie feeding, and I'll see you here in a minute.